Rachel, and Kat. And our lovely mentors, Ted Bordelot and Ms. Reza Matthew. So our mission statement included was to use a HH-3E Jolly Green Giant to rescue a downed F4U4 Corsair in the Gulf of Mexico at these following coordinates. Our assumptions included was that the center point of gravity was 95.9 inches from the nose of the Corsair. The mass of the empty F4U4 Corsair, including fuel, was 4,174 kilograms. There will be a 500-pound weight acting on the center point of gravity during the ferry flight. We are also assuming that the Corsair is at rest and that all forces are balanced during the ferry flight, maintaining a state of equilibrium. Our hoisting apparatus is also assumed to hold a maximum weight limit of 12,000 pounds. And for the ferry flight, the Corsair and the four-legged nylon bridle sling is 1 unit. Our statement of work included was that the aquaculture team will design a hoisting apparatus to transfer the Corsair from the Gulf of Mexico to the Shoals International Airport, a total trip of 228 miles, using the HH-3E Jolly Green Giant. Our resources are the HH-3E Jolly Green Giant, 2 rescue divers, and a maximum time limit of 8 hours. We are assuming that the Jolly Green Giant is in good working condition and that the Corsair will not sink in the 8-hour time limit. In this presentation, you will see research conducted, free body calculations, risk mitigations, and a stress analysis to perform our final design configuration.
So I'm going to be talking about how we incorporated the engineering design process into this challenge. So firstly, we identified our problem, which for us was designing a hoisting apparatus in order to rescue the downed Corsair. Second, we did research on the HH-3E F4U were built on hoist design and materials. Third, we got together and decided on a hoist design based on the characteristics of our trait matrix. Fourth, we tested our desired design with free body diagrams, calculations, and stress analysis. While testing, we deduced the problem, which was that our hoist design's current placement was not providing enough stability, so we moved it from 108 inches from the nose of the Corsair to 95.9 inches from the nose of the Corsair in order to get it closer to the center of gravity and satisfy the state of equilibrium.
So now I'm going to be talking about the Sikorsky and Corsair history. On November 29, 1945, using an R-5 Sikorsky helicopter piloted by Jimmy Viner, was used to save 2 men off the coast of Long Island Sound in Fairfield, Connecticut. Not only did this search and rescue mission was performed very well, it also led to many other search and rescue helicopters being made, such as the Sikorsky S-92 helicopter, perfect for military use because of its dual fuel tanks, meaning for extended range, the UH-60M helicopter, notoriously known as the Black Hawk, which has become the international symbol for Sikorsky, and the MH-60S Seahawk, perfect for Coast Guard use. But what this first successful search and rescue mission really led to was the confidence that American technology had the ability to save lives. Which brings us back to Igor Sikorsky's main goal when he first founded the Sikorsky Aircraft Company back in 1925, bringing us up to a number of 2 million, representing the lives of the civilians successfully saved by Sikorsky search and rescue missions, with the promise to add to this number in the future.
As a part of the project planning, we created a team organization chart which shows each team member and their roles throughout the challenge. This year, the Sikorsky STEM Challenge had 4 different modules. Module 1 was a research presentation that focused on the history of Sikorsky, the Corsair and its variants, and the differences between a helicopter and a fixed-wing airplane. In Module 2, we created a project planning report. In this report, we created a project schedule shown above, a risk key matrix, and identified and assessed the assumptions relevant to the challenge. Then in Module 3, we created 3 different trait study matrices. These included the airport trait study matrix, the hoist material trait study matrix, and the hoist design trait study matrix. Free body diagrams and calculations were Module 4's objective. In this module, the team utilized the concept of equilibrium and Newton's second and third laws to calculate the loads and moments using 3 equilibrium calculations. After all these modules were completed, we combined them and edited them in preparation for the final challenge solution. The aquaculture team designed a mission plan set to take 410 minutes or 6 hours and 50 minutes. First, the Jolly Green Giant would be prepped and and taken off back to the airport. Once the Corsair has arrived at the airport, it will be placed on a flatbed truck and supported by jack stands.
So part of the engineering design process required us to come up with a risk analysis. Our first risk was that due to crash landing, hard points of the Corsair may have been damaged. This is a major risk because if any of those hard points were to be damaged, there would be major instability during flight and lift. Mitigation for this is having live communication with an expert in salvage operations. Our second risk was that the rescue swimmers may have difficulty hoisting the design to the Corsair. This would take away from our 8-hour time window. However, simplicity was a very important aspect of our design, so it is ranked as moderate risk. To mitigate this, the rescue salvage operations expert stated previously can help with the implementation of this. In the third risk, the HH3 will consume extra fuel due to a drift. In the fourth risk, the HH3 will consume extra fuel due to higher temperatures, which would change the density of the air, making the HH3 work a little harder and consume the extra fuel. A mitigation for this is to equip the HH3 with enough fuel to compensate for this problem, taking account that we have 410 minutes to this mission with buffer time as well. Our fifth risk is that the rescue swimmers will experience fatigue due to the water exposure. This is a really big risk because safety is our biggest concern during this mission. However, they are trained swimmers, so we don't expect that to be such a problem. To mitigate this, we can have EMTs available if any of this problem would happen.
So to compare each of our 4 designs, we created a trade study matrix using several different categories to compare all of our designs. As you can see here, we made both safety and stability the largest priority. On this chart, 4 represents the best option, while 1 represents one that is least favorable. As you can see, our 4 lifting point design, which is listed as number 3, does the best in both safety and stability, contributing to the idea that it's the best choice overall. So, in this design, we are attaching nylon bridles before and after the fuselage and around the wings. So, with this design, we did have to compromise a little bit on our cost and our weight. However, we're able to do this because of how safe and stable it is compared to our other designs. When determining our materials, we use several categories to compare the 2. As you can see here, 2 represents the better material, while 1 represents the one that is less favorable. As also you can see that nylon does better than polyester in all 3 categories. So in comparing airports, we use several categories again to compare them to each other. On this chart, 4 represents the best, while 0 represents that we were not able to get any information at all. As you can see, for Skulls International Airport, we were able to get information across all categories, making it an obvious choice for our use.
Alright, so we also looked at free body diagrams and then calculations. And the first part we looked at was the Corsair being lifted. So you can see here that we are looking at the Corsair being lifted from the front view, and then this is the side view. Okay, so we also applied Newton's second and third law. Newton's second law says that force equals a mass times acceleration, and Newton's third law says that for every force there is an equal and opposite reaction. Because the Corsair is in equilibrium and is being lifted, we can say that the sum of the forces equals 0, and likewise the sum of the moments equals 0. Furthermore, we could say that the sum of the forces along the y-axis equals 0. This means that the forces acting upwards from the hoist R1, R2, and R3, seen at points A, C, and D in our diagram, minus the weight of the Corsair acting downwards, seen at point B, will equal 0. We also created equations about, from the moments about point A and D in order to better derive equations 1 through 4. Equations 1 through 4 we created by resolving the reactions of R1x, R2x, and R3x, and by plugging in values for the distances at A, B, C, and D. You can see that at equation 3 and 4, R1 is isolated. This means we can set a system of equations and solve for R2. We found R2 to be 12,181.4 newtons, R1 to be 28,666.6 newtons, and R3 to be 2,760 newtons. We also looked at the Corsair being ferried. And in this situation, we said that the nylon sling and the Corsair will act as one unit. We based this off the Pythagorean theorem, where the resultant force is the hypotenuse. The weight of the Corsair acts on the y-axis, and the Corsair's drag is on the x-axis. So applying the Pythagorean theorem, we found the resultant force to be 40,965.5 newtons, and this is at an angle of 3.1 degrees. You can see that angle theta there. So at the end, we wanted to check, one, to make sure our math was correct, but also to make sure that the plane would be in equilibrium when it's being lifted, and that stability and safety will be ensured. So what we did is that we made sure that the state of equilibrium held, so the forces acting upwards should equal the forces acting downward. When we plugged in all the actions in order to make sure this was the case, it was indeed true. So this makes sure that our stability and safety is accurate.
As a part of Module 4, we performed a stress analysis using a margin of safety calculation. We performed two stress analyses, one on the individual cords of the 4-leg nylon bridle and another on the single nylon cable holding up these cords. In these equations, we utilized a safety factor of 1.5, a pressure equation, and the fact that nylon's maximum strength is 3,480 psi. The resulting numbers of the equations were greater than 0, showing that both concepts were safe.
Alright, so this is our final design configuration. The aquaculture team will utilize a 4-leg nylon bridle sling that will attach to the forward and aft fuselage of the Corsair and on the wings. They will converge upon a point above the center of gravity of the Corsair, located at 95.9 inches from the Corsair's nose. From there, a single nylon cable will attach the sling to the attachment point of the Jolly Green Giant. This will allow us to safely and have a cost-effective and time-effective manner to deliver the Corsair to Skol's International Airport in Galveston, Texas. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this opportunity, and we had such a great experience. So thank you to the judges, our mentors, Mrs. Matthew, and everyone who's here. Thank you.